Assalamu alaikum, good morning, Khushamdeed, Ji Ayanu, Ishpata, Goeiemorgen.
Bakhair Agale, Ni Hao, Jude Shumme, Washmale, Ohio, Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Ola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifa Hal, Hale Shama Chatore, Ahlan Wasalan, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabia, Bali Karaya. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to PTV World. You're definitely watching World this morning. Special transmission on the Independence Day. So 14 August Mubarak to everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's Eid for me and it's Eid for Shiza Hashmi
For
over here
real,
as well.
yes.
But other than that, Shiza, how do you feel? Because last night I think people did enjoy quite a lot, making
Right.
sure that, that they're going to take it too far, their independence, because, people were throwing crackers into somebody else's car as well. And, you could see bikes on one wheels and whatnot. But is that the meaning of freedom? I mean, this is something I wanted to ask you today.
Well, okay, first of all, Jashn Azadi Mubarak to each and every single person watching. And I really hope and pray that you are able to exercise the freedom or Azadi in its truest form. Having said that, I think the celebrations were sort of limited this time because of course it's Muharram going on as well. So people were keeping it low, which I'm really happy about, because respect is there
Exactly.
too. But when we do talk about realizing the freedom, I think our heart, the happiness that we have in our heart, we cannot hide that. Although, I mean, of course, we were sort of containing ourselves in terms of celebrating on a bigger scale, but we were really happy. We prayed for Pakistan, of course. I know a lot of people, Shazad, who are so sweet. They actually order birthday cakes for Pakistan.
Yeah, true.
And it's a family tradition for them. They get together and cut the cake for Pakistan. It's just a gesture. Of course, there are critics who might say, cake kis liye kaat rahe hain? It's just a sweet gesture where you stand together, pray for your country. You realize that, okay, this is a piece of land that is your identity. And if wherever you go in the world and you tell them that you have this nationality and this is your identity, you will be recognized. That is one beautiful form of freedom.
I mean, being a Pakistani, I think that this is, it's very similar and it's very mutual as well, that the feeling is there, and no matter what happens, wherever you're going to go around the world, people will recognize you that, hey, you know what, that's the best land. Because in the last 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of tourists came down to Pakistan. A lot of destinations were kind of looked into where people wanted to go, making sure that we are actually housed to 8,000 meters, 6,000 meters.
Yes.
Mountains as well, but not just that, the highest ever cold desert, the highest ever ATM in the world as well. And from the highest mountains to the deepest seas, I think, this is something for us which we should celebrate every single day. But at least we come down together on one day and we're like, okay, Allah Mia, thank you very much for giving us this independence. And yes, you may continue.
Thank you. So, Shazad, I feel like the type of freedom or independence that you and I have, or I would like to explain it to people.
Yeah, go ahead.
We work on the state television, and when you think about that, state-owned television, the first thing that comes to your mind is, well, of course, a lot of what do you call it? What do you call it when there are rules and limitations? I mean, you cannot
Disseminating on an agenda.
of course, and you cannot go beyond that. So, in terms of realizing our freedom, I feel like we are editorially independent. It's been more than 3 years now I'm working over here. Not once have I been told that this opinion belongs to you and this does not go on television, as long as, of course, it's informative and right. And I think this is one massive form of freedom that I enjoy working over here at PTV. Other than that, just being a citizen of Pakistan and just being a woman over here, I do enjoy a lot of things. Not to say that everything is perfect. We will definitely get to that. But just realizing the freedom, Shazad, because whenever I want to do my namaz or offer my prayers, I'm free to do that. Can you imagine if I'm in a market? Everywhere you do hear azan at the right time. There is no corner in any city of Pakistan where you cannot hear the azan from afar or from close as well. This is another aspect of freedom too, because if you talk about other countries, people who really want to practice their religion are, well, barred in their houses. Imagine even in the land of the majority of Muslims, Kashmir I'm talking about, which is now illegally occupied. It's a Muslim land. The majority is Muslim, but they're barred in their houses. They cannot practice, go to their mosques and whatnot. This is the smallest example of how your freedom can be limited. So I think I can go on for so long, Shazad, but on top of my head, these are the things that I enjoy.
And I think it's beautiful because, just before we got started with this wonderful transmission, ladies and gentlemen, so Shiza was like, okay, what we really need to do is that we should only give away, congregations or probably hellos and highs from all over Pakistan as well. I mean,
Yes.
and for all of those people who might not know, there are more than 72 languages over here in Pakistan, so it would have been a little hard.
Yeah.
But then I was like that, it is, since we have this liberty that we live in a free country, a sovereign country as well. So I think that, that the state actually gives us this freedom to practice what our fundamental rights are, and that is to kind of congratulate or probably share the feeling of happiness with everybody else out there as well. And Shiza actually kind of seconded it up as well. So which is why, ladies and gentlemen, we actually wanted to start our day where we kind of wanted to think about that, God forbid, if we were not born in a free land, or if we were not in a free land, how our lives must have been. I mean, imagine where, your daughters cannot go to schools. Imagine where your daughters are not safe to be outside the houses as well, or even inside the houses in that cases. Imagine that, that there is a communication block here. Imagine that your internet services are not working. You do not have good universities, or you're not allowed to be in good universities, or somebody else is actually going to take your jobs. I know that, the struggle is real, ladies and gentlemen. And at this point of time, I think that for all of our forefathers who've actually sacrificed quite a lot as well, for this motherland, Qaeda-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Dr. Allama Iqbal Saab, and not just that, I think that due credit needs to be given to the law enforcement agencies as well, where Pakistan Army, Pakistan Navy, Pakistan Air Force, Pakistan Police, and every individual who's actually played their role to make sure that this land stays independent and that people stays independent as well. But okay, since we are talking about Azadi, and I know that, we're talking in the context of our country, our motherland, Pakistan, I think we should talk about individual freedom at times as well.
I know where this is going. But yes, please go
Yeah,
on.
I think we're going to talk about this, but let's just introduce our amazing guest
Yes,
today,
let's
ladies
do
and
it.
gentlemen, and then obviously we are going to kind of have a conversation. It's going to be a 2-hour long program. We're going to talk about every facet. We want to talk about every detail of freedom, sovereignty, and how people have actually taken this freedom for granted as well. But first, we actually have a small report to share with you guys. Go ahead, take a look. And once you guys will come back, we have some amazing guests over here in the studios with us. Let's see if they're ready to take up this challenge.
75 years ago, lines were finally drawn in the map of the subcontinent, which for Muslims was a reward of the centuries of bloodshed they had endured during their struggle to convince the British rulers to create a Muslim nation as an independent, self-governed, sovereign state, while Qaeda-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah turned this dream into reality through his relentless efforts. The quest for an independent homeland was no small task. For long, Muhammad Ali Jinnah believed in Hindu-Muslim unity and directed his efforts towards achieving a united India free from the British. Soon, however, Jinnah realized that Congress was operating with the aim of creating divisions within Muslims. Jinnah saw that the interests of Muslims were being sacrificed and they could no longer count on Congress to represent their interests. He returned from England and, recognizing the need for a reorganization of the Muslim League, united and activated it as the sole representative body of the Muslims of India. He also began the struggle for freedom of India along constitutional lines. Despite enormous difficulties and opposition from those with conflicting interests, Jinnah stood his ground with integrity and determination. He toured the entire country, visiting distant corners, addressing meetings, meeting Muslim students, arguing with double-minded local leaders, and exposing the policies of the Hindu Congress. Slowly, he began succeeding in creating political consciousness among the public. In Lucknow in October 1937, he delivered a passionate address which later marked a dramatic change not only in the League's platform and political position, but also in Jinnah's personal commitment and final goal. He put on a black sherwani and his signature cap, earning here for the first time the title of Qaid-e-Azam. By the end of 1938, the Muslim League was recognized as the representative of the Muslims by the British government, and soon the Viceroy was given the same importance to the views and opinions of Jinnah that he gave to those of the Congress leaders. In March 1940, Qaid-e-Azam traveled to Lahore and addressed a public gathering, declaring that Hindus and Muslims belonged to two separate nations. It was on this famous day that the Pakistan Resolution was passed. The resolution gave all Muslims of the subcontinent a well-defined and achievable goal, unleashing their potential and activating all Muslims to start making their own contributions towards freedom. Despite an ailing health, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, with his courage, integrity, iron will and determination, brought to life the distant dream of an independent homeland for Muslims of the subcontinent. Every Muslim man, woman and child gave enormous sacrifices to realize the vision of an independent and dignified future that the Qaid had shown them.
Welcome back again after the report. Jashan Azadi Mubarak to everyone who is watching. We all together today are here to discuss, of course, the freedom of Pakistan, and then together pray that the freedom continues to stay this way and we keep flourishing and prospering as well. Without further ado, let's introduce our guests, because, of course, we have a lot to talk with them. All of them happen to be intellectuals, and mashallah, their insight is something we need to share with the world.
Exactly, and these are the guests we really want to share with the world why we are having this conversation on independence, because every time they're going to utter something, it is going to make sheer sense as well. Wow, my vocabulary early in the morning. I think I like myself as well. But ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, this gentleman was awarded Star Imtiaz military as well. He happens to be retired Air Commodore Saeed Shoaib Salim Saab. Hello sir, Assalamu alaikum. Yawm Azadi Mubarak.
Walaikum salam, Azadi Mubarak to you as well, to
Thank
all
you.
the nation, all the Pakistanis everywhere in the world.
And to all the countrymen and women as well. Thank you very much sir for joining us. Wonderful to have you on this day. Thank you. आज मैं कौमी जज्बे से सरशार हूँ. You know, this is how I feel, alhamdulillah. Alongside him, ladies and gentlemen, I'm lucky that, you know, that for whatever I've been saying, you know, that brings a smile on his face as well. He's a great guy. All the way from Hunza joining us, ladies and gentlemen, an analyst and author himself. He is Mr. Sabauddin. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Yawm Azadi Mubarak.
Happy Independence Day to all of you. And through you, I will convey the Independence Day greetings to the most wonderful, progressing, developing, energetic and youthful nation of Pakistan.
Thank you very much, sir, for saying that as well. And the way you said, I think that, you know, there could have been a little more passion in it. Did you want to give it another try?
I mean, I think we can cut him some slack because it's really early morning.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
one thing before we do move on, is Jashan Azadi Mubarak the right term, or Yawm Azadi?
Yawm Azadi means that today is the day of independence. Jashan Azadi is we are still kind of enjoying.
Celebrating.
You know, so yeah.
Celebrating.
Well, both
It can
are
be
right.
either. It can be
Okay.
either. For the next two, you know, we can do Jashan Azadi.
Jashan,
Mubarak. All right. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, this he happens to be a wonderful human being. I mean, I've never seen that he's actually put down any offer. You know, every time we've actually called him and we're like, say, you know, we want you to be over here. We
Yes.
have this special program. He's that one person we can all totally rely on. And I think that these are the kind of people you really need to have in your life. And it's because of the fact that the kind of work they have done, first of all, in field, off the field as well. And the way, you know, they kind of disseminate information, and the way people really need to think like, I think, is the way he's going to portray today as well, which is very positive. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again wishing him Jashan Azadi Mubarak. He is Mr. Muhammad Abdul Wahab Saab. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Assalam, Shahzad. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I must say, we should be grateful to Lord Almighty,
Alhamdulillah.
who has provided us this country and the opportunity to be here, all of us together.
Wow,
Absolutely.
and that's wonderful. And you know, we are going to take advantage of this opportunity as well. So thank you very much, Allah Almighty, for giving us this opportunity, that we live in a free land as well, and we do whatever we wish to do. I mean, as far as if we are not hurting anybody's feelings, emotions, or anybody physically as well. But last, not the least, ladies and gentlemen, we actually want true representation. It does not really matter whether it's Independence Day or not. But whenever we talk about Pakistan, Pakistan is a very inclusive country, and we really do not miss out on anybody for that matter. We're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be a social activist, and he is Rahul Joshua. David, hello, assalamu alaikum, Jashan Azadi Mubarak, how are you?
Jashan Azadi Mubarak to you and everyone around Pakistan and outside. I'm great, and I hope you're feeling great as well.
We're feeling great, and you know, your mustache looks cool, you know,
Thank you,
wonderfully
thank you.
well, and you look amazing too as well. Thank you very much
thank
for
you so
joining
much.
us. Wonderful to have you. So, sir, we'll start with you. First things first, you know, I know that we kind of every time we have this question to ask, and that is that, you know, what will be your message today, and how would you highlight the significance of independence? So, let's start with you, and it's the same question for all three of you, so you'll get time to think about it. So, sir, please.
It's very significant that we got a free country, state, thanks to Almighty Allah, first of all, and then to our ancestors who created this. But they have given us a free country to practice whatever we want to. And then onward, it is a message to the nation from my side, to youngsters, that we must not develop it as a nation. All the institutions, maybe, and the individuals, they must work hard to make it a good nation, and which can be top of the world in the list.
Exactly. Wow, and it's a wonderful
When you
message.
say a good nation, what does that entail in your eyes?
That means we need to have cohesiveness within the society, and we must have energy to progress in technology, in field of education, in the field of all aspects. and the civic sense, the rights of individuals, that must be ensured in case if we are living. Otherwise, it is no use of having a
Exactly, and thank you very much for saying that as well. And we truly want to build up on that. But let's see what all our other members have to say today as well. So, Sabahuddin Sahab.
Thank you,
Azadi,
Shahzad.
sir.
Yeah, thank you, Shahzad. First of all, we have to understand this independence and freedom in its own meanings. Independence or freedom is never free. So it has to be earned, it has to be struggled for.
Of course.
And independence costs a son each day.
True.
And when we value this, when we see that it has been earned with a lot of sacrifice, so we value it as a gift, as you said, that a gift from Almighty. So when there's something is a gift, it is supposed to be taken care of. It is supposed to be, brought up, developed in a progressive way.
Yeah.
About freedom, we have to understand that freedom is not the freedom we understand. Freedom is responsibility.
Yes, thank you so much.
So
for
we
saying
have to
that.
understand that if we talk about freedom, what responsibilities we have. And although we have a territorial definition of a land, we have a flag, but nation is beyond that. Nation comprised of the people. So are people free from poverty? Are people free from ignorance? Are people free from all the negative isms, sectarianism, and all the negative things, and all the evil things, and social evils in this? So are we free? So we have to focus more on the people and the freedom of the people in the real sense as a responsibility to each other that we have as an independent nation.
Oh, that's definitely a wonderful message. How to go about it is something we'll come back to as well. Wahab Sahab, please.
Thank you, Shahzad. Let me start by saying our Creator, Allah Ta'ala, says man is hasty and unthankful. So far, since we got independent, we have proved that we are really unthankful. We don't value what we have got. We don't understand how our leaders and our brethren back in undivided India, they fought for this freedom.
Every day for so
It's
many
really,
years.
very dearly bought freedom. We lost millions of lives.
True.
What else we didn't lose? We lost almost everything. We started from scratch. We have to tell our new generation that we rose from ashes. You see, we were almost nothing. We had lost almost everything.
True, that's
So we have to really kindle that fire in our youth, in our children, in our own generation, and even in the older generation, that we were the creators of this country, and we are the ones who have to preserve this independence by working hard, by making us and the society responsible towards civic duties which we have to really perform.
Yep.
We bought this freedom after giving a very heavy price, but what we are doing, you see, we are littering around, we are not taking care of poor, we haven't done much on poverty alleviation, we have really not done in the field of medical, in the field of education, our masses are languishing, our people are dying. So what we have to do, we have to, on this particular day, we have to rise up with a resolve
Absolutely.
that enough is enough. Now we have to work hard for the progress and development of Pakistan.
To be at
Wow.
par with the other world. And I absolutely love where you said that we did rise from the ashes, which for a moment actually made me Google if Phoenix is Shaheen as well or not. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, it's
And
not.
she literally did that.
I
did that,
literally
yeah.
did that. But yes, we are the Shaheens of Iqbal, and by that he means that the heights or the limits we can go to, they're undescribable. We can literally achieve everything. And by the words of Abdul Wahab Sahab, I now want to believe that we are Phoenix as well. Moving on, what do you think of freedom?
To understand Pakistan's freedom, it is important to know what we went through before
Yes.
Yeah.
before independence, and even now, if we see India in itself, the major part that we cut off from and became an independent country from,
Okay.
it is suffering in itself as well.
Of course.
And looking how India is ruling with an iron fist all around, whether it's in its own provinces or in Kashmir, and what the atrocities it is committing,
Yeah.
and knowing that we had the opportunity to escape that, and we are now independent, and we don't have to suffer all of that.
Imagine that.
And Pakistan has a rich history. for 70 years, you know, even if we discuss the international politics, if we're not the kings, we are the kingmakers. We place the world hegemon on the map.
Absolutely.
And I think that is a legacy that needs to be carried on. And I think as a free country, Pakistan has a lot to do in international politics as well.
Well, that is brilliantly put. And you know what? At this moment, I think we really need to take our time to discuss further where you said, it breaks my heart thinking you put me in that position that we are now free after so many years. But imagine the people who were struggling with us, who were with us in this fight. Most of them are still struggling through that. Still, imagine an armed police of not even, I don't want to call them a police officer, an armed person who has the right to do anything without being questioned, 1 person to 8 people in the illegally occupied territory. They're still living through that. And compared to them, now do you realize your freedom? I mean, alhamdulillah for this, but I really, really wish and pray that our Kashmiri brethren get to feel the same that
Exactly,
we do.
more than 800,000 troops over there as well. But ladies and gentlemen, one way or the other, we still really need to remember that, you know, that it is our responsibility over here to kind of build up on this as well.
Yes.
And make sure that the entire nation is with us, and they kind of get this vibe that, you know, that we really want Pakistan to be there and be amongst the top nations as well, which is why we actually have another report how people actually kind of celebrate the Jashn-e-Azadi, or, you know, how actually they celebrate their independence, and that too on the night of 13th of August and 14th of August. So we have a report on this as well. Go ahead. There's this very fun segment which we are going to do. Shiza has no clue about, so please go ahead, and once you guys are going to come back, I'm going to give one phrase to all of our guests,
Oh,
and let's see
brilliant.
what they have to say about it. Let's do that.
The 14th of August holds special significance for all Pakistanis. It was on this day that the Muslim struggle for an independent homeland in the subcontinent came to fruition. The long-standing struggle of Muslims against the British was spearheaded in its final moments by Muhammad Ali Jinnah and resulted in the British ending their 200-year-long rule to form 2 separate nations, Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan. Even in the face of insurmountable odds and an abundance of those who cast doubts on the lifespan of the country, Pakistan stands strong and proud. Today marks the 75th anniversary of its creation, and Pakistan continues to exceed expectations and march on towards progress. Pakistan's remarkable success is indeed a cause of celebration, and all Pakistanis commemorate the anniversary of its creation with joy and vigor. Every year, as soon as the month of August starts, the streets of Pakistan come alive when the color green springs up all over the country. The celebrations for Independence Day begin on the eve of 14th August with car and motorbike rallies, national songs, and fireworks. The day dawns with a 31-gun salute followed by a change of guard ceremonies at the mausoleums of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Allama Muhammad Iqbal. Flag hoisting ceremonies are held and collective prayers are offered at mosques. Tributes are also paid to members of Pakistan military for all their sacrifices in ensuring the safety of the country. The feeling of patriotism and nationalism beats through every heart, and all Pakistanis display a sense of gratitude for the blessing of an independent homeland.
Well, this was a brilliant report, Amna. Thank you so much for doing that. I think credit's due where it's due. There's a lot of young potential coming into Pakistan television and showcasing their work too. Well, that's freedom as well. Now coming back to Shahzad, where you have a surprise segment for us. Let's do it.
All right, so it's a surprise segment, ladies and gentlemen. Just very recently, you know, Shiza's younger brother has actually written a song for me. We've recorded it and we want to release it, and we think that, you know, it is a public service message.
It is.
But sir, to each one of you, I'm going to pick up a line from that song, give it to you, and let's see what you have to say about it, all right? So whatever comes to your mind, you have to talk about it. That's freedom as well.
It's our interpretation of it.
I mean, let's see what is their interpretation of this phrase as well. So, Iqbal ka Shaheen, khuli t-shirt or phati hui jean.
You have combined 2 things. Azadi,
Yeah.
तो आज़ादी है ना, चाहे
जी.
खुली टी शर्ट है जैसे भी है, you should not object to anything.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's
Brilliant,
wonderful. That's, I wasn't really,
Whatever suits him, yes.
wow, that's wonderful. I wasn't literally thinking that, you know, that this is the kind of interpretation he's going to come up with, but that's,
But
sir, that
it's
was beautiful
brilliant.
as well, and that's another way of looking at the picture. Sabahuddin sahab, coming towards you, ऊपर से आने का रहता बोलबाला.
You know, you have complicated thing. You have literally complicated
So,
this
sir,
thing.
any defense analyst.
No, in fact, what you have seen is that what I was talking about freedom from corruption,
Yeah.
freedom from nepotism, freedom from favoritism, and all the negative isms I mentioned. So you are indicating that you don't have to, violate the merit, you don't have to...
The hierarchy. You do not have to violate the hierarchy.
Yeah, and so it's a corruption. So you have to free this nation from
How?
corruption.
That's
Say no to
the
corruption.
exact crux why we are actually doing this segment, that we
Yeah,
want people to
yeah.
kind of know that, okay, this is a menace which exists in our society. What can be done to get rid of that?
There are two things.
Go ahead.
One is the spiritual aspect.
Okay.
As a religion, as a follower of the religion, the wonderful religion of Islam, we should know that corruption is more than a crime.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's a
yes.
sin.
It's a
right?
sin.
And secondly, we have to see what the governance structure is there to protect the nation against the corruption.
Right.
So the law enforcement has to be strong. And the law enforcement doesn't have to be discriminatory. Different law for the rich and,
Different law
the
for
one who steals the chicken, he's in the
Upar se
jail.
aane
and
ka
the one-
rehta bolwala.
yeah. So it has to be like this.
Have you ever done that? You were stuck somewhere and you had to call somebody and be like, yaar, isko samjha, yaar, mujhe jana hai, chalan kar raha hai mera. Something like that. Have you ever done that? Let's start from ourselves.
I'm a very shy person. Normally,
We know that.
even while bargaining with the shopkeeper, if he demands a little higher price, I just give it and I just go away. So I'm not type of a person to contest.
All
Well,
right.
I had confession. I had to actually make
Really?
use of that. I called you. Remember?
Oh, yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. But that was,
There was a I
that was
had
very
a
different
traffic
scenario,
blunder.
but I think that, women actually kind of, since you calling your colleagues to seek help, I mean, it wasn't that you were actually running away from law. It was like you wanted somebody to kind of stand beside you, while meanwhile, you get done with all
I
the
did pay the
formalities.
challan,
Yes,
though,
yes.
yes.
So that's what it is.
I did
Not to
pay
worry.
it.
Yeah. So coming down to Abdul Wahab Sahab, so Abdul Wahab Sahab, सड़कों पे भूखी नन्ही जाने हैं सोती.
Well, it depicts the poverty in our masses. The thing is, it really presses us to think what we have done so far. We got the freedom which was earned after that long struggle, after loss of those lives. We should really have worked very hard for the uplift of masses, which we didn't do. So basically, this phrase within the song, it really pushes us for hard work in order to help our countrymen.
Exactly.
And that only happens to the ones who have empathy or compassion in their hearts. Not everyone will take this
That's
message.
what is lacking in us. What we have to really stress, that we have to think about our country. We have to think how we have to uplift the country. We have to take almost every cross section of society,
Definitely.
irrespective of what religion they are from, irrespective of what language they speak, irrespective of what clan they are from. You see, so we have to really make ourselves, if we have to bring ourselves into the community of nations which have earned fame and which have developed, so we will have to inculcate those characteristics as well, which we
Exactly.
haven't unfortunately done so far.
And why do you think we were unable to kind of instill those characteristics?
Well, the thing is, unfortunately, we really didn't train our people. You see, the curriculum which was formulated
यानी आप
earlier,
कह रहे हैं कि हम एक भीड़ हैं बस. आप ये कह रहे हैं?
in a way, yeah, you're right. So we have to train. We have to really start from KG level.
Yeah.
We have to tell our children, we have to tell our elders as well, that, well, look, you got independence, but now behave like human beings. You see, please perform your civic responsibilities, not for the sake of others, but for your own sake. Because if other gets the rights, you will automatically get your right, which
Exactly.
we have unfortunately failed so far.
Wow, thank you very much for saying that. And ladies and gentlemen, a nation cannot progress if until and unless they're not going to rectify their problems. And I think that this segment is actually an initiative of ours where we want to kind of highlight the menaces, and then obviously the message is going to go out to the masses as well, and it's your responsibility to reach out to the masses and tell them that, hey, you know what, this is something wrong. Because this is because the next phrase which I'm going to share with you came up to my mind, where how we go to a public office, and the moment you step into a public office and that you are the servant, and the person sitting on the other side of the window is actually the master as well. And no matter what happens, how many documents he's actually kind of asked for from you, you know, every time you're going to go to that window, he'll be like, sir, ID card ki copy reh gayi, sir, ye paper nahi aap leke aaye. And they're going to make a mess, and this is a reality. On the other end, if you walk into a corporate office, any corporate organization, they'll first of all greet you, make you sit down, offer you a cup of tea or coffee, and then they'll be like, sir, give me the file, I'll sort it out myself. Which is why we see that there's a disparity amongst the corporate organizations and the public institutions over here. Hence, keeping that in mind, haram ki kamai khaye har ek shakhs.
That's a harsh one, though.
Yeah.
But yes, the reality is that as a nation, we've been accustomed to corruption now. We tend to find the easiest way out, and
It's
that
a shortcut.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's a shortcut. We always go for the shortcut, and we try to get our work done the earliest. Or उसमें जो बात है वो ये कि when we go to a one-window operation or any public office, what we expect is that we do not have to follow the due process, and we get our work done
That's
first.
true. And we jump queues
Until and
anyways.
unless we are ready to wait for our turn, unless and unless we follow the right way, the other person sitting behind the window, he's going to
He's
find an
asking for it.
opportunity.
He's like, your document will be short. No matter how many documents you're going to attach with your CV or whatnot, there'll always be one letter which is missing, and until and unless you give him that letter,
Yes.
in form of Qaid-e-Azam on the
Yes,
money,
yes.
and then everything will be acceptable. And I want Pakistan to kind of get rid of that, because all of these people who are public servants, you are there to kind of make sure that you facilitate all of us. Everybody who's coming right in front of you, you're supposed to facilitate rather than think that you're the king of the jungle.
And that's what Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah said the first time there was a meeting at the then I don't know if it was there was no presidency then, but the first meeting after Pakistan's inception, and he was speaking to the military men and all the government officers, and he said, you are the servants of the people, and you are in this position just to serve the people. Now towards the end, sir, this is a hard one, and I know it might take time as well, but sir, Sitara Imtiaz, only you can answer this. We are a democratic nation. We're really proud of that, and I personally feel like democracy is the way forward.
True.
Are we a democratic nation?
Yes, number of times we had the number of elections, but the governments had been coming and going. But beside this democratic process of the nation, I would like to highlight certain other things, if you would allow me. You see, the negativity is always there. No nation on the earth will have 100% of such type of corruption-free society or that. The question what I am trying to raise is that the negative we must highlight what are the problems, we try to resolve those. Not that we inculcate in our children that it is Pakistan to hai kharab, corruption hi hai har jagah pe, but there are certain departments, there are certain systems in which their improvements are coming up.
Yes.
Wherever there is a problem, in that may be a democratic system or maybe some official working, maybe a education system or maybe civic sense, we need to inculcate in our young generation that look, we have got a sovereignty, we are a free nation, but we need to follow the rules. Instead, always telling the children that we had not been having a curriculum, we had not been having a one window good operation, that the clerk, he did not give me the respect. So we need to come out of negativity. It is our own nation, it's our own country, it is our own government, it's our own departments. We need to highlight as a youngsters, we need to tell them that what is right, what is wrong. But negativity wala jo hai na, wo usko nikalna padega hame as a nation.
Exactly, and we're going to do so.
Then we can raise, and let me finish on this, that
Yes.
as a nation, number of people might be saying that we are a mob, we have not progressed. Alhamdulillah, we have as a nation, as a Pakistan, we have progressed very well as well. do not undermine Pakistan nation. It is a very resilient, and we have progressed in number of fields, and we have Nobel laureates also from Pakistan, and we have a lot of development, the strongest military, strongest we have this
Improving economy now.
improving economy, and
Yes.
it will continue rise and fall. Economy will not stay at a static. It will not continue climbing. It will have a dip and rise.
And sir, we are going to come back to this as well. We very quickly have to, go out towards a short break as well. But once we're going to come back, I'm going to be in conversation with sir because, over here, this year around, we were not able to win any Olympics gold medal. I'm sorry, but I'm not propagating or I'm not proposing that there's a lot of negativity. The only reason behind the very segment was that you come up with solutions too. So I think that the next half of the conversation will be on that, okay, now since we have identified all of these menaces, how do we get rid of them as well? Ladies and gentlemen, we're heading out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere. We're still celebrating our independence, which is why we are able to speak freely, and we want this freedom to be enjoyed, not to be taken granted for as well. 14 August Mubarak.
Welcome back to Well This Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it is an unusual transmission, but a very special one. It is Saturday, but it happens to be the 14th of August. Jashn-e-Azadi Mubarak to everyone out there, all my Pakistani brothers and sisters, and especially my Kashmiri brethren who are right now illegally occupied by some, well, heinous entities. Anyway.
Exactly. And moving ahead with that as well, I mean, Pakistanis who are not in Pakistan or are elsewhere all over the globe, there were these videos which were coming in, how they were celebrating even in London or probably in New York or elsewhere as well. And it feels, I mean, it makes me excited to see that, that people of Pakistan are literally in love with their motherland. So there's no other emotion other than that, which I believe is beautiful. But, just while we were thinking about it, while we were on a break, so I thought that, I want to share this story where I usually very often used to ask my grandfather how it was, when it was independent. So my grandfather always used to tell me a very amazing story. He was like that, when we moved from the then India to Pakistan, so obviously there were houses and everybody. So whichever house anybody went into, it was their house.
Really?
It was considered as their house.
Oh, wow.
So my grandfather, when he came down over here, so he was like, we moved, because the place we had in Rawalpindi, my grandfather's house, it had 7 to 8 rooms, but it wasn't really a very big house. So I always used to ask him, you've served in bureaucracy, you've got so many plots, the government kind of entertained you on this as well. So why are we still living in a small house? So it was like, after independence, when I came down, and, I actually asked my younger brother to stay in the house as well, right? So whatever house they picked up on, he was like, I asked my younger brother to stay in the house. Meanwhile, I'm going to go look after for all of those people who were coming from India, who were on their way, his sisters or, whatever. So he was like, the moment I got back, because every day, every Pakistani had to go to the bus stop, or probably it was a train station, and to look for whether, their loved ones
Their
have
relatives,
arrived or
yes.
not. And, half of the time they would come back empty-handed because nobody showed up. And then, but you know, that was a sad moment where he said that, you know, my younger brother actually left the house looking for me, so we actually had to move it to a smaller house because all the other houses were occupied. I mean, this is one of the story which I wanted to share. But before we kind of go back to the conversation, ladies and gentlemen, we really want to talk about Qaid Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, father of the nation, who gave us this sovereign land, who gave us this freedom,
Yes,
who
but
was there to fight for us as well, which is why there's this movie on his life. We want to share the trailer of that movie, and once we're going to come back, I will let Shiza speak. It's, you know, ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
happy Independence Day. Yeah, please. Trailer from the movie Jinnah.
all right, let's do it.
For 200 years, the Muslims of India have lost the directions of their destiny. And now, as the mists clear, a vision is born of a country of purity and compassion. A Pakistan. Go back to India and take charge of the League.
A man of honor in a time of politics.
What are these? Letters from Lady Mountbatten to Nehru and from him to her. Shameful things.
We do not descend to this level.
A patriot of peace in a land at war.
Nowhere is safe. It's even worse in the Punjab. And the Bihar Muslim League is reporting countless incidents of arson and murder against Muslim communities.
He believed in a new day
Stop this slaughter.
and began a new nation.
Divide the country in two? That is madness.
Lord Mountbatten, it would be equally insane to leave a Muslim minority at the mercy of a Hindu majority.
His name was Jinnah. His hope was Pakistan.
I decide. That's why I'm here.
I am here as a representative of a Muslim nation whom you must learn to respect.
And his faith would change the world.
The will of the people has put Pakistan within our grasp.
Inspired, impassioned, private,
We welcome you to the faith of Islam.
and profoundly human.
There will be no country without you, Jinnah-san.
It's consumption, isn't it?
Yes.
Doctor, we must keep this between ourselves.
It is the story of his life and the birth of a modern Muslim nation, on screen for the very first time, in a film by award-winning director Jamil Dalavi, starring Christopher Lee.
Where are you going?
To Pakistan.
Pakistan was made for you. You're safe now.
Well, we literally do have goosebumps over here, and for all of those who haven't watched this movie, make sure to watch it. It's a beautiful production. Now, coming down to, of course, all the people who contributed to making Pakistan what it is today, the land of pure, the land of Muslims, and a land that is not anymore associated with either British or Hindus for that matter. There were a lot of people in this struggle, Shahzad, and when we talk about our heroes, of course, I have massive respect for all of them, but particularly, I find myself thinking a lot about the ideology and philosophy of Sir Syed. You know why? Because I don't know. I feel like his vision actually did make sense and made sense till date. If you want to fight the people and get rid of them, you have to get into their mentality, and that is what he kept advocating. You know, study. And inform yourself, educate yourself, receive the education that they are receiving so that mentally you can be at their level and then beat them. Nelson Mandela also had the same vision as well. And I feel like this is something now we need to revive. Now coming back to you, sir, where we were talking about democracy and how it is in Pakistan, how do you think you would relate that to this, the freedom of actually educating ourselves to get there?
We need to get educated how to develop our nation. So for developing a nation, we need not to have only prime ministers or parties elections and only the constitutional assemblies or the members, MNAs, MPs. We need to develop the democracy at the root level. All the nation, Western nations, whosoever have progress, you see their council level, root level democracy system is so strong that no one individual in that street cannot violate, can violate the rule.
Yes.
So in case if we need to progress as a nation, we need to develop our root level democracy, and then automatically you will have a beautiful democracy system at the top level.
Wow.
And only then we can progress. That is, in my opinion, that is a solution to all the problems we have so far.
I agree with you because it totally makes sense, of course, but I want to build up on this and I want you to, Mr. Sabahaddin, present your views on how democracy should be or is in Pakistan, or if it's not right, how can we fix it?
Let me build a preamble to this.
Okay, okay.
The human life is very precious, fine?
Yes.
And this life is not supposed to be sacrificed for a piece of land.
Yeah.
I will sacrifice my life for a concept, for the ideology, not for a piece of land. So Pakistan is an ideology, Pakistan is a concept, Pakistan is part of our faith. Now when we come to the next, believing in democracy, democracy is again an ideology, it's again a concept. So we have to believe with all its ills and bads, we have to believe that the people of Pakistan have right to make a governance system by themselves and govern the country by themselves. That's what democracy means. But while we are trying to seek perfection in the democracy in our country, I bet you, find me a country in this entire planet, on this entire world, where you find the truly democratic country. There is none. But people are trying to follow and struggle in the pursuit of perfection towards democracy. So when we talk about democracy, when we talk about nationalism, we should talk about it with positivity, with hope. If you draw this last 7 decades as a timeline in the history, we have just stepped into making history. When we build nations, they take centuries and centuries and millenniums. So we have to be hopeful. We have to believe in this ideology, and we have to believe in this concept as a faith and be prepared to sacrifice everything for survival of this ideology.
Wow, that's
Brilliant,
wonderful.
brilliant.
Wahab Sahab, I think I'm going to change the topic a little bit over here as well, because I think that we've had enough of democracy as well. These were the points which, when we were playing this game, where I was giving them different phases, and they said that, okay, these are the things which actually should take place as well. So, number one, we should take this gift for granted. Number two, we should be a good nation. Number two, poverty alleviation, ignorance, working hard. And then domestic abuse, I would like to add this over here as well. How do we get rid of all of these problems over here?
Among so many others.
Yes.
Well, the thing is,
I'm sorry that I've changed the question.
No problem at all. No problem at all. I mean, this is good that you changed the question in the 11th hour. I will try to connect, my thought with the new volley of questions.
Sure, sir, sure.
Democracy. We have aligned too much of hope from democracy.
Yes.
Democracy is not delivering. Why? Let's discuss why it is not delivering. Why are we having problems? We haven't been able to choose the right people for the right job.
All right.
We have been deceived.
Who's we though?
Sorry?
Who's we? We
People
haven't
who
been
were
able
elected
to choose.
democratically.
We mean some people,
Okay.
People who were elected democratically. Let's
exactly.
put it that.
The thing is, basically, there is a major flaw in the system. This is my personal opinion.
So
You might disagree.
I'm sorry that I'm stopping you over here, and I'll give you ample time to kind of speak your heart out as well. Right. But then, if you're talking about people who were elected democratically, do you think that, it's us, the people, who haven't elected the right people?
Exactly,
Electoral.
of course. That's what I'm moving to. Sure. Basically what happens, once you go around, there is a cobbler, there is a butler, there is a tailor.
Yeah.
What happens, these people never come across what type of people they are voting for. They never look at their profile. They never read about their past. They never look at their qualifications. They never look at their expertise. They never look at, either they really have the guts to deliver what they are electing them for.
Yeah.
Similarly, our well-read masses, they also don't try to first look into the character of a particular public representative who stands to represent them. Basically what happens, at the end of the day, we are voting for those who are 100% ineligible to stand as a public representative. A well-read and honest a committed, sort of dedicated person
Would never
gets
go to
out of the
politics.
system because he doesn't have money to bribe people for.
True.
Our masses get sold for a plate of biryani. You see, they get
Yes.
offers
Yes.
from those representatives, I mean, and they vote for. So what happens at the end of the day? Go to, sorry, no disrespect is meant. Once you meet our representatives, you have a feeling that perhaps you are 100 times better than them. They don't have even basic sense of the issues our masses are confronting with. You see, I spoke to one of the representatives in past and simply asked, sir, why don't you arrange public transport system in the twin cities, at least in Islamabad, which has practically no public transport system? And I was surprised. He had no idea about. He asked me, there is no public transport system in Islamabad? I
What?
said, sir, I mean, you have been elected from NSO and so.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, he told me, you can tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I mean, for a doctor, we need an MBBS degree.
Yeah.
You see, for a writer, we usually have a proven set of skills, right? But why for a public representative, we don't have any qualification?
No criteria.
No
And then people
criteria.
will tell you degree hoti hai.
No
Jahan se
criteria.
bhi-
You see,
So that's the
there are
criteria.
people who even cannot write their names. You see, and they are sitting in assemblies. So basically, we have to reform our electoral system first. Second, when we will have these responsible people, they will really say no to all ghost schools. They will not put all their relatives who don't know even ABC as teachers in those schools. They won't tie their buffaloes in the school buildings. I mean, they won't eat away the funds from hospitals, basic health units. Go to any basic health unit, you won't have any rabies vaccine, you won't have snake bite vaccine. People and children are dying across Pakistan in our basic health units. Even in our major hospitals, there are no vaccines. Why? Our people don't question. Our people don't protest. Our people don't hold public representatives accountable. So what we have to develop, we really have to develop that. We have to bring in a system where all our basic needs are met out.
Exactly. Wow.
Absolutely,
wonderfully
and
said.
very articulated, very well articulated as well. And you know, this is so true. On my way to my village, which happens to be somewhere near Sargodha, it's a proper village. You know,
No
a
electricity?
true. Well, there is electricity. I mean, a true depiction of a rural area.
Pathi on the walls, something
Yes,
like
yes. And when you spoke about PHUs, it took me back to when, whenever we are traveling together, our dad explains to us the things that we see. Well, I mean, for education. And this one very big empty place, and my dad's like, okay, this is a BHU, it's supposed to do this. And I'm like, if it's a BH, like, what is happening inside? And there was just one donkey tied to a pole. There were no people. Can you believe that? I was like, Baba, is this for animals? and then he, sort of make us, you made us understand. But that's that. Of course, we need to fix those things. I'm not generalizing again. Maybe that was one particular case, but I really don't want that to be the case.
Yeah.
I actually want to move on with a notion that I personally feel and I personally question as well. I've spoken to my professors about it. When we talk about the word nationalism, lately there's a negative connotation to it, and I'll tell you why. Mostly because our neighboring country has attached negative aspects to it. The way they are dealing under the name of nationalism and being the new neo-imperialist is something we're not okay with. But is it actually a negative term? Are we a nation? Is nationalism bad? Let's move to you, Rahul.
I don't think that nationalism is bad.
Okay.
I think that carrying your nationality as your identity shouldn't be considered bad. If we see the Western world and if we see the US per se, they carry themselves as Americans, regardless of their religion, regardless of everything else. They uphold to the to the Constitution of the USA. And in the same way, I would say that holding your national identity to yourself and proving to yourself and to others that you belong to a nation, and that particular nation holds certain a moral code in a sense. When you have all of that, I don't think that it has a negative connotation. It is how you represent it.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I 100% agree to you as well. I think that you've actually made sense as well, because since you mentioned about US, I think wherever you might go in US, every other house you're going to come across will actually have a US flag outside their house as well, and this is how they live.
Well, then you should go to a Fauji colony in Pakistan.
Yeah, and this is how everybody needs to live over here. Where, ever since it's the month of August, you'll see flags and buntings everywhere. But right after 14th of August, I don't know, whether the passion diminishes or what actually happens. But now there are two thoughts which I'm going to share with you all as well, and that too on a very lighter note, since you mentioned about ghost schools. So imagine that people over here in Pakistan, I'm sorry to say that, are not going to pay 1,500 rupees for a Netflix subscription, because they keep on asking their friends if you can give me the password. But they will pay 50,000 rupees for their daughter's fee, and so that she can actually attend online classes. So this is one thing, and she's just going to be in front of the computer or in front of the screen, and that too they are paying 50,000 for. Number two, there's another thought, and that is that पौधा जो होता है सर, पौधा जो है वो बाजे से सस्ता है, तो पाँव पाँव ना करें, छां करें, ठीक है? आप इन दोनों सोचों के बारे में आप क्या कहेंगे?
बिल्कुल सही है कि पौधा लगाना है, environment और पंप है, but you see you cannot, there are two different things. वो environment और वो सारी चीज़ों के लिए that is पौधा लगाना is good, but पंप जो करना है उसको you cannot stop the youngs to उनका जो जज्बा है वो पंपों से निकलेगा. So you should not stop that. तो सर ने जैसे कहा कि जी highlight किया कि जी जो electorals है, they are not selecting the right people. So that is the problem basically. True. So we know that the properly elected people, they are not coming in, because the electoral people, they do not have the right and the vote properly, and they do not have the education. So we need to set up that. So basic, I fully agree with him, we need to overhaul our democratic system, electoral system, and in case if your system is right, at the top level, at the union level, then your all institution, just CDA ho ya koi bhi ho, they will be at least improved upon. And uske bagair, you cannot, as a nation, you cannot build. You mentioned that we did not bring a gold medal. Don't get disheartened. We had been having a lot of other successes. 8-time, 10-time squash champion, cricket, hockey, all those things. But we had
Champions Trophy in 2000.
Yes, but we should not disheart our youngsters. He could not throw.
Disheartening my youngsters. I'm talking about the people who are responsible for the Olympics committee.
More than 190 nations, and everyone doesn't get a gold medal. So we should try. We should develop, we should improve. I'm not saying that we should just sit like that, but we should not get our nation disheartened, and we should move on.
I totally agree with you, sir, 100%. But if there's one nation and they're taking away 90 medals from Olympics, I think that everybody's got a fair share to get medals to themselves.
Shazad, they did everything by themselves. I mean, kudos to them. They reached there. I mean, I wish I could hug them for congratulations. But sir,
so we need to highlight those things and only highlight and improve upon, not ye to bas.
I think Meera ji highlighted very well. Where Arshad Nadeem was actually a javelin thrower. She said he plays very good cricket as well. I don't know who actually told Meera ji that there's cricket in the Olympics as well. I mean,
okay, anyway.
This is something which was different. But it's not to mock Meera ji, but somebody should have informed. Rather than getting informed after you've said something, it's better to be more informed before you say it.
That is, yes, of course, being informed and then making your opinion is something. But sir, I have to just make a comment over here. I feel like your generation is very optimistic with Pakistan.
Always.
And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm not questioning that. But it is a little opposite with the younger generation. I don't know, maybe there are so many factors to it, and maybe we will get to them. But Rahul, I want to move to you because I feel like I didn't give you enough chance to speak. When we were talking about institutions and how, well, let's now talk about younger generations, since we are always complaining about Pakistan ye, Pakistan wo, how can we fix that? A small example. One of my youngest sisters actually is now appearing in her matric examination, okay? So she's studying, her tutor is there, and then just one day before the exam, my tutor comes to my mom and goes like, give me 10,000 rupees, I'll give her a separate room during the exam, right? So everything she wants to do, she can do.
That's a lot of freedom.
But I have to mention it's what's wrong is wrong.
Yeah.
And my mom is like, so my mom is confused. She's like, ye mere sath mazak kar rahi hai, ye mujhe bribe kar rahi hai, what is she doing, right? And she calls me, she goes like, the tutor is saying this. I was like, Mama, this means this. Iska matlab ye hai ki wo paper koi karwayega usko, you know. It's unfair that for the people who have been studying for so long. So this is a common nest example of the things that happen, and this is just at the matric level. So it really bothers me. What do you think about this?
Well, the younger generation has seen a different Pakistan.
Okay.
When we talk about them, you know, there's a certain kind of an enthusiasm in them.
Okay.
Ek jazba hai, ek junoon hai to see Pakistan change. Even if not Pakistan, to see growth in themselves.
Okay.
When they see all of this, and because of the world becoming a global village and having so much information at your hands, where you can see all around the world how the youth is living, how the living standards have changed, you know, it really does make them question on what is happening to Pakistan and why is it becoming difficult for them to survive here. And of course, when we talk about the youth, there is the social media, you know,
exposure, whatnot.
Exposure, and it is a social media generation, right?
Yeah.
So when they have so much access, when something goes wrong or something that they think is morally wrong against them, they will always raise up. Okay. And when they do rise, or when they do question certain things, it always goes against them. And I think there is optimism in the older generation, but when it comes to criticism, I think criticism is the basic and fundamental, you know, rule of democracy.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And only then you will progress.
Of freedom as well, though.
Yes.
Of criticism, yes.
So when they're allowed to criticize and when they're allowed to vent, I think that is a very important factor in the growth of Pakistan.
Exactly, and it truly is dependent on, ladies and gentlemen, on how people actually think about their freedom too as well. But I think that, you know, we've taken this opportunity, we've built up on this as well, and we're glad to our entire team, to our bosses over here who've actually kind of allowed us to say or share whatever we thought, you know, as Pakistanis, what will be good for our Pakistan as well, which is why towards the end, Sabah Sahab and Wahab Sahab, we are actually going to request you to wrap up this segment so that we can bid you farewell as well. But we're not going to ask you to go because we want you to sit over here. Then we have these lovely angels over here. We want them to be with the audiences as well, so that they can kind of share the Pakistan they have in the at the back of their minds as well. So sir, please, whatever you want to say with.
I have two things to say, maybe in disagreement with what has been said. We as a nation have developed a habit of making a list of what we don't have.
All right.
But what we have, we are not valuing.
Let's say, sir, what do we have?
Your youth bulge. The thing you are criticizing right now is your potential. And from where I see Pakistan, Pakistan is becoming a startup nation due to these young people.
It is.
I wish if I could take you to the places in Gilgit-Baltistan, in KPK, in far-flung areas in Balochistan, where software technology parks are functioning, where, you know, business the processing organizations are working, where hundreds of young people are dedicatedly working.
True.
Pakistani youth are working and tapping the international global market. I wish if, as the older ones or the elder ones, we could see.
I mean, there will be a fair debate in between that too as well.
I wish if we could see the positivity in it, the optimism in it, and the potential the youth has.
Right.
So I'm not in favor of, you know, beating about the long list of what we don't have. I want and I wish that if we focus on what we have, and that is the only way forward for us.
And this is exactly why we love you,
and
sir.
Sabah Sahab, this was our grievance actually. We do realize the bulge, but this is our grievance. Since we have more than 60% of people who can do something for the country, there are segments.
There's one thing I would like to add. You know, when you have a lot of nuts...
You don't like my negativity.
No.
I mean, it's not even negativity.
You know, when you have nuts like almonds, peanuts, walnuts, you try to put them in different bins.
Okay.
Right? You don't mix them up. we as a nation have the habit of mixing everything up.
Sir, mixed packet sasta mil raha hai na, with lesser cashew nuts in it.
We mix our personal problems with the social problems, with the governance problems, with the national problems, with the defense problems. Everybody is a commentator, everybody is an analyst.
Gold medal problem.
Yeah.
Gold medal problems.
And we are opinion makers ourselves. Yes.
So we have to sit and celebrate what we have.
Exactly.
This is an occasion of celebration for us.
It is indeed. Sir, Baab Sahab.
Great message.
Wonderful.
Sharad, let me say, I have no reason to disagree with the positivity of
Alhamdulillah.
communicated by all these veterans. But we had to take into account facts. The fact is, we are confronting population explosion, not backed by multiplied resources. What we had 20 years ago, we are having the same facilities, same hospitals, schools, roads, whatsoever, but population has got tripled. So basically what is happening, we don't have enough jobs.
Yeah.
The only solution is technical education and rapid industrialization. We have to take into account, rather we have to adopt Chinese model. We have to make every person, every house a basic industrial unit where one way or the other way, either we should be manufacturing these small flowers in every home or a glass, a piece of table everywhere. So we have to become an exporting nation. Believe me, the day we become an exporting nation, our 90% problems will be solved. So, rapid industrialization backed by honesty, dedication, commitment, and love to the country.
And technology.
We have to really understand that we have been a blessed people. Allah Ta'ala gave us this homeland, you see, which has almost every feature. Initially, you described all those features, you know. There are hardly few countries like Pakistan in the world. So, we don't realize we are ungrateful because we don't count. As a good human being, every day we should count that what God has granted us with, what God has blessed us with. We have all the senses. We have almost freedom to go everywhere. We can say whatever. In many countries of the world, you cannot express your political opinion. You can do here. You can say anything to your prime minister, to minister, to any person. Nobody cares.
Exactly.
You see,
Just don't do it on
I mean,
Twitter.
this is a great blessing. But remaining within this positivity, we have to understand that we must be honest, we must be dedicated, we must be committed, we must be faithful to country. Faithfulness lacks among majority of Pakistanis. We have to understand Pakistan is the only abode and there is no other homeland for us except Pakistan.
Exactly, and that's how it is, and this is something which we've actually known, which we have known from the beginning of our lives, alhamdulillah, which is why we're still here till date as well, and we want to serve the country in whatever capacity or in whatever role which will be given to us or which we might pick up on us as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation because, ladies and gentlemen, a true model is always SWOT analysis, which talks about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and we've pretty much covered all of them as well. I think for the strengths and opportunities, you guys did a great job, but weaknesses and threats, we did a great job too as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're heading out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back, and we have some amazing angels over here in the studios who will make our day more bright. Let's do this. Good morning.
Good morning.
passion for polo will be the highest on the world's highest polo ground. Shandur invites visitors to experience a traditional polo tournament between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The tournament is held on Shandur Pass, the highest polo ground in the world, at 3,700 meters above sea level. The first time a polo tournament took place on the Shandur Pass was in 1936. It is a place unique and exotic in itself, surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountain scenery in the world. The event marks the annual rivalry between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The polo tournament has some added attractions for the visitors: trout fishing at the nearby streams and lakes, and a festival of folk dances and music of northern Pakistan. The event in itself offers a fascinating insight into the lifestyle of the people of this region. Their culture and indigenous customs are a delight to behold for the visitors. Crystal clear lakes, snow-covered mountains, alpine flowers, and vast stretches of green grass are added attractions. Fairs and festivals of Pakistan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTV while you're watching World This Morning special transmission on Happy Independence Day. It happens to be 14th of August 2021. We're lucky to be over here. Earlier, we were in conversation with the elderly and the very thinkable over here in Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, and they had amazing things to say. And there was not even one single thing which we could have actually disagreed upon as well. But, you know, whenever we talk about countries, whenever we talk about nations, ladies and gentlemen, it's very important to be on the same page so that we can prosper together, so that we can bring good things and good name to the country together as well, which is why it was very important to actually be in conversation with the future generations of Pakistan and the kind of passion they possess for their motherland Pakistan as well, which is why we have a bunch of amazing kids over here in the studios with us. Namely, we're very lucky that we've been joined by Huran. Assalamu alaikum, Huran. How are you?
I'm very well. How about you?
I'm absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for joining us. Then we have Noor. Noor, assalamu alaikum. Kaisi ho aap?
Islam, how are you?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much. Then we have Yashal. Yashal, happy Independence Day.
Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum assalam. I'm perfect. And then we have Abdul Muqsid. Abdul, how are you?
I'm fine.
Jashn Azadi Mubarak.
Khair Mubarak.
Khair Mubarak. Wow, that's good. And then we have Daniel. Daniel, hello. Walaikum assalam. Then we have Ibrahim. Hello, Ibrahim. How are you? And then far, far away, we have Abdullah Abbas. Hello, Abdullah. Jashn Azadi Mubarak.
Happy Independence Day to you. I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. These amazing kids have actually prepared a few national songs for each and every one of us and for everybody who's out there.
Flags.
Yes, they also brought us flags as well. So first up, we have Huran and Noor. Huran and Noor, कौन सा national song सुनाएंगे आप लोग हमें?
दिल से मैंने देखा
दिल से मैंने भी देखना है पाकिस्तान दिखाओ. चलो भाई, ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay.
मेरी कौम की बड़ी आज़ादत का है इरादा, देश का ऊंचा नाम करेंगे ये है सबसे वादा, कुर्बानियाँ कितनी देकर आज़ादी लाए, मैं तो ये चाहूँ सारी दुनिया ही है चाहे, दिल से मैंने देखा पाकिस्तान, जहाँ से मेरा धरती पे ईमान, मेरा पाकिस्तान, जानो दिल कुर्बान. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that was fabulous. Dil se maine dekha Pakistan. Wow, that was wonderful. I think it is originally sung by Fakhir or Haroon. I'm not really very sure, but it's one of the most amazing national songs I grew up to as well. Kids, are you guys ready? What are you
Yes.
guys going to share with us?
Jeewe Jeewe Pakistan.
Jeewe Jeewe
And it should be
Pakistan.
so loud that, well, anyone can hear outside this building as
Let's
well.
do this.
जीवे 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 पाकिस्तान, जीवे 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 पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान पाकिस्तान, जीवे पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान पाकिस्तान, जीवे पाकिस्तान. जीवे
Louder.
जीवे 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 पाकिस्तान, जीवे 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 पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान पाकिस्तान, जीवे पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान पाकिस्तान, जीवे
Louder.
पाकिस्तान. मन बन जी जब पंख हिलाए, क्या क्या सुर बिखराए हो, क्या क्या सुर बिखराए. सुनने वाले सुने तो उनमें एक ही धुन लहराए, ओ एक ही धुन लहराए. ओ पाकिस्तान 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 पाकिस्तान, जीवे पाकिस्तान, जीवे 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 पाकिस्तान, जीवे 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 पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान पाकिस्तान, जीवे पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान पाकिस्तान, जीवे पाकिस्तान. जीवे 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 पाकिस्तान, जीवे 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 पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान पाकिस्तान, जीवे पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान पाकिस्तान, जीवे पाकिस्तान. जेल गए दुख झेलने वाले, जेल गए दुख झेलने वाले, अब है काम हमारा हो, अब है काम हमारा. सुनने वाले सुने तो उनमें एक ही धुन लहराए, ओ एक ही धुन लहराए. ओ पाकिस्तान 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 पाकिस्तान, जीवे पाकिस्तान, जीवे 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 पाकिस्तान, जीवे 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 पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान पाकिस्तान, जीवे पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान पाकिस्तान,
Wow, that was fantastic, beautiful. You should actually clap for yourselves as well. You guys put up a phenomenal performance. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we were talking about, that all of these amazing future generations of Pakistan are instilled with this amazing mohabbat for Pakistan as well. You guys have done a wonderful job, a beautiful job, and I think that you were better than the elderly or better than us as well. You guys have actually spellbounded today. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful transmission on this Independence Day is going to continue as well, but please make sure that this passion, this dedication towards your motherland continues forever as well, and may Allah be very kind, and may Allah make sure that Allah is actually going to give us that dedication, that energy, that this land, our motherland Pakistan, is always going to be independent and be sovereign as well.
Ameen.
Thank you very much for being with us. Let's do it together. It's about time that we say our goodbyes as well.
I think at the expense of freedom today, ladies and gentlemen, make sure after you're done with the celebration, do not leave the flags and buntings and everything on the ground, and also do not litter, because that is not freedom.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this together. So, I'm going to say Pakistan, and all of you are going to say Zindabad. Zor say it. Okay, so first of all, let's do a camera rehearsal, even though that we are live. Pakistan Zindabad! Pakistan Zindabad! Pakistan Zindabad! Look after yourselves. Thank you very much, kids, for joining us. Wonderful to have you.